Hey guys, welcome back to Listen Bitch Presents Tell Me Why You're Special. This is the arena where we don't just talk about self improvement, we talk about who you become after life breaks the version of you that you thought you had to be. Because the truth is, a lot of people are performing strength while quietly falling apart underneath it. Um, whether it's addiction, shame, mental health struggles, numbness, anger, and eventually what happens is the armor cracks. And then when that happens, you either stay stuck in survival mode or you rebuild different. And God did not create you to stay trapped in cycles that are destroying you. So today we're going to talk about conditioning, identity, healing, and what happens after a man realizes he was never actually broken to begin with. Today's guest is Seth Payne. He is a Marine Corps veteran. Thank you for your service. Performance coach, helping people move from that survival armor into real alignment. So, Seth, I just want to say welcome to the show today. First question, I would say take us to the moment where everything you thought defined you started collapsing. What happened?
Right on. Well, thank you, Brandon, for having me on the show.
Yeah.
So, when things started collapsing, I'd have to say that I was the last one to become aware of it. So, I came back from Afghanistan in 2011, and one of the key words you said in the introduction there was I was performing
Mm-hmm.
for almost 10 years. And in 10 years, right before 2020, my wife left me for the first time because she had found me passed out on the side of the road. So that was kind of when I guess you could say I finally started realizing that there was something wrong. I still didn't want to admit that there was anything wrong. So between 2020 and 2023, I was actually fighting it back and forth, just rehab and then relapse, rehab and then relapse. And in December 14th, 2022, my son it was 3 weeks to the day that he was supposed to be born. And I wrote a note, left it in my journal in the house, and his mother found it. She was my wife at the time. And she immediately took me to a psych ward. And I guess that would be the moment where I realized that it had all fell apart. Because the biggest thing I'd ever wanted in life was to be a dad.
Yeah.
And then 3 weeks out from my son's due date, I was just ready to throw in the towel. I didn't feel worthy enough to actually be this child's father.
Yeah. That's so your addiction started before you came home or after you came home?
So that's a great question. I was talking with one of my friends earlier this week about addiction and the pre-genetic disposition, or is it a conditioning problem?
Mm-hmm.
Well, my family, I don't come from a family of addicts,
Okay.
besides like any other typical American's addiction to sugar or the news or anger or things of that nature, as far
Correct.
as substances go.
Yeah.
So I would say in the Marine Corps, it's a drinking man's league, and you just do it, go along to get along. There's nothing frowned upon about it as long as you stay out of trouble.
Yeah.
But I came back from Afghanistan and it started off where I just drink once on Wednesdays was my free day, and then weekends because work hard, play hard, right? That's
Yeah.
what we're taught.
Right.
And after we moved back to our little small town in North Carolina, it progressively got worse. Now, I was very high functioning, I guess you could say. I always held down a job. I worked for the same company for 7 years. I called in sick one day of work out of that entire 7 years where I was actually hungover and didn't feel like going in. But I would say that my addiction definitely, I don't, I won't classify that it started before Afghanistan, although I drank all the time before, but afterwards was where it began becoming a problem.
Yeah. And that, I mean, I can see there's a lot of stories like yours, kind of when you come home and you're shifting gears from that mindset. Um, my mama heart, damn it, I'm on the phone with my dad the other day because my son is actually going into the Marines.
Mm,
Um, if he gets the correct time tomorrow, he actually leaves Monday. And so I'm on the phone with my
wow.
dad and we're talking about it. And he's like, they just come out a bunch of drunks. They're party animals. And my mama heart, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, first of all, I'm like, dang it, what is my son getting himself into? But it's what do you think you were using this armor for? I mean, is it the adjustment when you come from kind of like a disciplined life of purpose, and you know, you guys are all on the same page, right? And then
Mhm.
you come home and everything's just kind of not routine, not same page. It slows down. It's just a different mindset.
Right. Well, I mean, it's kind of all the above there. One of the things I've learned through my own personal journey since since I've started to learn appropriately, I guess is the best way to put it, is that my whole life I was conditioned to perform. Like I grew up in church. I tell people I was a drug baby. Mama drug us to church.
Yeah.
I mean, if the doors was open, we was there, and I loved the church that I was in, grew up in. But I grew up performing there in all the plays, and then I was in athletics all my life. So the basketball court was where I found my solace. And those two places taught me about love and approval and being seen. So going into the Marine Corps, it kind of just reiterated and compounded that armor that I already had on. But now, they drill into you, you're not hurt, you keep your bearing all the time. Like I've had to retrain myself to smile whenever I'm out in public. I don't need just this stoic face. Like
Yeah.
it's almost irritating to see now. But it's just you keep your bearing, you do your job. If you're supposed to be there, you're there. It doesn't matter how you feel or anything like that. And then you go down range and life becomes really simple because that all becomes true. Like it's it's not your life really that matters anymore. It's the guy to your left or your right.
Yeah.
And life is really, really simple in that aspect, but you put the armor on, and the Marine Corps does a great job of conditioning you to that in a matter of 13 weeks.
Yeah.
But there's no deconditioning process afterwards. And there's a little program that you go through to get out. And I've thought about trying to help out in that arena. But when I was 25 getting out of the Marine Corps, like I just wanted out. So
You
you
didn't want to
couldn't tell
hear
me
it.
nothing anyway. Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's just the Marine Corps definitely conditioned those patterns and drove them home. But it was like I come back home and to your point, take the uniform off. Um, I was happy with my job for a while, but it's not as fulfilling. You're not one of the things I've come to realize, and it's my own theory around PTSD, is you live at such a high standard for X amount of time, whether it's 7 months to a year, however long your deployment is, that you come back to where your body and your nervous system has adjusted to being in a state that's so high
Hmm.
under situations that aren't exactly normal, to say the least,
Right.
that it doesn't know how to adjust to the normacy of life.
And I feel
And
like
me
that,
and a
yeah,
go ahead.
just that, I mean, juggling that alone, like it'd be really hard to, like, you're in the fight or flight, you're in the fight mode all the time, so that's probably like reactive,
Mhm.
probably making things bigger than they are, because like that's your expectation, so you kind of bring the world's problems to meet you here. um how did, you know, that, just the big escape, is it, you hit rock bottom, you're in the escape, what was the moment that, you realize you have a hole to climb out of, and you can just breathe, like pause and slow down and get out of fight or flight?
Well, for me, it was the final rehab center in 2023. It's called Camp Hope. It's a organization that helps combat veterans. I actually work for them, and that's my day job now.
Nice.
And I was laying in bed one night, just in tears, like, can I change? Is it possible to change? I've had faith my whole life, but like even my faith isn't helping me now. So there was something that kind of came to me as like it's deeper than your conscious mind. And with that, I got the book from James Murphy, or by James Murphy, The Power of the Subconscious Mind. And then my sister also sent me Dr. Caroline Leaf's book, um, The 21 Day Brain Detox.
Mm-hmm.
And I was intimately familiar with a regular detox. Like anytime I came off alcohol, I had to be in a hospital.
Yeah.
So the brain detox had intrigued me. And as I started reading about it and reading about neuroplasticity and her neurocycle loop, I can't remember exactly what she calls it, but it's like I could rewire my own brain.
Hmm.
So it was just this glimmer of hope that there was something that I could physically do myself to conduct the change that I wanted to see. So it was a little belief that it was possible. And then I read more about neurogenesis and neuroplasticity, and that started me down a rabbit hole and created a morning structure off of Hal Elrod's The Morning Miracle, and
Hmm.
was doing that every day. And the program itself is 6 months long, and it's like I couldn't go home because my then wife didn't want me at home anymore. She's
Yeah.
taking care of a brand new baby. She doesn't need any problems that can come along with me. And probably expecting that I'll come back and be good for a day or two and the same thing will happen. So it's like, I'm not going anywhere. I might as well dive into this. And it's by far been the greatest decision I've ever made.
I love that. First of all, I'm obsessed with neuroplasticity.
Yes.
My flagship show, I have to talk about it in every episode because people think they are so stuck in their stuckness. And I'm like,
Hmm.
the power of the brain, it is God's greatest gift to us. Um,
Yes.
and you're also talking about how the military kind of conditioned you. And I feel like, do you see a pattern in real life where everybody's kind of conditioned?
Oh, 100%. So that's one of the things, again, I love about my journey is I've went back to school and I'm studying these things, and that's one of the first classes I had talked about societal conditioning,
Yeah.
religious conditioning. I mean, you could go athletic conditioning. Like we are conditioned from the time we are born until we decide to create our own conditioning through neuroplasticity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really no fault to anybody's own because you're only doing the best you can until you know better.
Yeah.
But like the Marine Corps, again, great about it. But I could look back over my life, and that's where I can see patterns from inside the church and patterns from my school and my friend groups and things like that that conditioned me up until a certain point where I was like, okay, if that was one of the things that helped set me free, and it had to do with the Marine Corps. If the Marine Corps can condition me to walk towards bullets in
Yeah.
13 weeks, then I can condition myself out of all this.
Yep. I that's a powerful realization.
Mhm.
What is something right now that you feel like society is teaching men that's quietly destroying them?
Oh, there's two things that popped in my head really quickly, and that's still the hustle and grind culture.
Yep.
You got to go, go, go. And then also that you have to have it together all the time. That's one of my biggest things. Like, don't show emotion. You're a man, don't show emotion. And I'm a super big fan of unicorns, just putting it out there.
Yep.
But that's symbolic to me because, like, I want to be that man for other men to that allows them the opportunity to get in touch with their feminine side. Like I've worked with more female clients than I have male clients, and I think it's because of the access I have to my feminine side. But it's I think people don't understand we're supposed to be a mix of both. And so, like, get in tune with who you are because one of the biggest things I've seen come out of for myself is that now that me and my son's mother are no longer together, I don't know how she feels about it, but I feel like I'm more emotionally there for her the way that she desired for me to be when we was married
Mm-hmm.
than than I ever was, or at least the last 8 years of our marriage.
Is that what that means then? Because I guess I just want you to clarify what tapping into your feminine side, how you define that, like what that means. Is it the emotional availability?
For me, yeah, that's probably be the best way I would put it. Just not being a I'm gonna have to dig into this. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Um, Not being really afraid to express yourself, not feeling like you got to just tough it up and drive on and everything. Like actually being able to sit down and talk about how you're feeling.
Yeah.
Um, Actually literally sit there and feel it instead of just trying to find the next distraction to
Yeah.
move on. Because whether it's a substance or not, that's one of the things that I've come to realize also is we're very quick to grab some type of distraction when we don't want to feel something.
Yeah,
And our cell phones can be one of the fastest ways to do that.
absolutely. And the quick dopamine hits. So your
Hmm.
feminine side, I call that just a grown ass man. I feel like that's kind of when, you know, I have sons and my daughters are the oldest. And
Hmm.
so they start dating and they're just like, wow, like these guys are really immature. And I, try to explain to them like boys are just boys and men are just like little boys. And there is a point where I think, you know, it is important for men to step up and be able to communicate, right? Because I
Hmm.
feel like it's in their wiring, it's in the wiring to be quick to anger because that's a protection for you. You needed that once upon a time. You couldn't be emotional out trying to provide for your family in the wilderness. You couldn't be emotional. You kill or your family doesn't eat. You come
Hmm.
home and you rinse and repeat. Um, but now I feel like it's as you start to get older, it is that matter of like just being able to say it. Like, my husband has gone through that process where he's at the point that when I hurt his feelings now, he can say that instead of just raging and getting
Right.
defensive and getting pissed off. He's like, damn, that like hurt my feelings. And it's very simple. um Now, could he say that to his buddy at work? No, he's not gonna be like, "Oh
Hmm.
man, you hurt my feelings." But there is a different way I think in that space. But um, I think it's a process. I think it is definitely a process, and not everybody does it. What do you think separates you from being willing to grow in that space compared to a man that's listening that's just like stuck in his anger, stuck in his reactiveness, stuck in his ways? What is your message for him to just kind of move the needle a step closer to being that grown ass man that can be honest about what he's feeling and not ignore it or distract himself?
Right. The biggest question is, what do you want?
Yeah.
I would ask them that. And if you want to be more emotionally intelligent, if you want to have better communication with your significant other, your partner, your spouse, or anything like that, um, it comes by taking those steps. And one of the biggest things that you got to learn to find comfort in is the discomfort of it, because it isn't what isn't natural isn't always easy to begin with.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily, I believe that part of it is a wiring problem, but I also believe we can change that wiring should we choose to do so. But it's ultimately each individual's own choice.
Right. I want to talk about that rewiring. What does that look like for you? What does rewiring yourself actually look like in the day to day?
So for me, I'm very habitual. I've learned that about myself. I love my processes, even for work and computers and things like that. Set up a system and then go with it. So on an average day, I wake up at between 3 and 4 a.m., go to the gym, have my quiet time in my car, get out, go work out, finish my workout, shower, I go to a park, meditate, and after I get done with my meditation, I'm in my office, answer emails, things like that, go throughout my work day. After my work day, return to where I stay, and I've been wanting to pick up the piano. I haven't started that yet, but I'll usually sit down and read. I've started drinking a little night tea, and I'll drink my night tea and about an hour before bed. I sit there, get into a book for about an hour, and then lights out and get ready to do it all again the next day.
So the rewiring was like in the habits that you choose, staying consistent in moving from, one habit to the next throughout the day, not losing yourself in the downtime, which,
Well, then
especially.
also, I mean, just on top of that, I'm very aware. I'm aware of how I speak to myself. I allow myself so much more grace than I did 4 or 5 years ago. When I mess up, it's shake it off, move on. It's why did I not do it's a question that I ask. And then I don't lie to myself about it either. Like one of the things I've come to learn is that I'll very rarely say I don't have time for, because we're great at making time for anything that's important to us. But if we don't have time for it, it's just not important enough at that moment for us to get it done. So I'm aware that if I get something done, it's because I want to get it done. If I don't get it done, it also falls on me. So it's in a sense taking a lot of responsibility for my own actions, but I'm in control of my peace. I'm in control of what I let into my brain. And it's that's what I go back to. Like I got a terrarium sitting on the other side of my desk, and I love the visual of it because a terrarium, once it's sealed, it's its own ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way that I'm trying to construct my brain and my own personal inner environment so that I can be amongst the world and the chaos and everything like that, but I can always maintain my inner peace.
Yeah. I mean, that's, you spoke a lot to my audience right there, Seth, in those things. And especially the fact that we get to create those things. We get to choose who we're going to be in the moments. And the things that I, really want to highlight are the facts that you're radically honest with yourself and you took massive responsibility. And I think those are two things that if everybody that's listening to the show right now did those two things once a day, just did a check, right? Radically honest, radically responsible. I think that the world would shift on its
Hmm.
axis. Crazy. Like there would be a huge movement of something because we're all so caught up in, other people's stuff, everything around us, everybody's so worried about everything else. And I feel like it's a safety net to keep us stuck in our victim mentality. Because as long as we're worried about what everybody else is doing, as long as, we're feeling sorry for ourselves, we don't have to do the hard, unsexy work of rewiring. Because what did you say a minute ago? You wake up, you rinse, repeat.
Hmm.
You do the same thing. And that's not sexy. That's not sellable. I can't be like, hey, I, my God, I was in the health and wellness business for 10 years and I would sell products that would force people's bodies to lose weight. So it would work really great for 2 months and then
Hmm.
it doesn't work anymore. And then everybody's back to square one. Now I'm doing the real thing of like just eating the boring ass meal, same food every single day.
Right.
Very unsexy, but it's working and nobody's buying it. It's wild
Hmm.
to me, right? Because it's not instant and it's boring. It's boring, but I feel like find the power in the boring.
Yes.
There is so much in that, and I think systems and habits are what save us. It's like one little thing, and I try to tell people, just if you wake up tomorrow, just pick one little thing that you could do different that would change your whole day because it does rewire your brain. And your
Right.
brain is like, oh, we can do this, instead of just going and sitting down straight on the couch, what if I just step on the vibration plate?
Hmm.
Right? Instead of off the vibration plate, why don't I just go for a quick walk? Whatever it is, it's that one little thing. Um, I think that's amazing. How did you get out of that? What is the word I'm thinking of? You didn't think that you were good enough to be a dad, and I feel like that kind of correlates with how we identify with the worst moments in our life, and how we beat ourselves up with that voice that
Hmm.
repeats. How did you break through that? How did you stop identifying with your worst moments and actually know you were worthy of being a dad?
I would say a lot of alone time. First off, learning to love myself again. Like it's the old adage, but it's so true. You can't love anybody else until you truly love yourself, which personally is the reason I believe the world's kind of the way it is right now because people just love themselves that much and they don't know how to love anybody else. So
Mm-hmm.
we end up in the state that we're in. But it was that, and then this is the coolest part of it all is that my son never has to know the man that his mother knew. And that's one of the driving forces and also understanding. And I've talked to my therapist about this a couple times. It's like, I'm not going to get it right. I can be the perfect dad for 18 years of his life, and there's going to be somewhere in there where he points back at me and I did this. And it's like, that's okay too. So it's also
Yeah.
just learning to allow myself that grace in that aspect.
Yeah.
Um, But I mean, the I'm not enoughness thing, it's definitely one of the things that I still have to be aware of and still have to work on, and it'll come up really quickly. But it's just a reminder that I'm a human here living the human experience just like everybody else, and we're all entitled to this beautiful life that is just ours, and it's here for us.
Yep. I love that. And yeah, welcome to parenting because you're
Mm.
gonna fuck it up. Like that's it's unmistakable. And I even just was telling my kids the other day, I have six altogether. Four, two of two are already like graduated college, have big girl jobs, moved out last year. Um, and so we're just kind of in this with my two middle boys right now, with one leaving for the military, one not, and just it's a weird dynamic right now. And I just literally told my kids the other day, I'm like, I don't know how to juggle all this. This is my
Mhm.
first time. This is my first human experience. I've never been the mom of, two adult daughters and a high school boy and um, um my baby leaving for the Marines. Like I've never been through this. I
Mhm.
don't I don't know how I'm going to handle it, and I'm still homeschooling two littles at home, and it's my first time, man. I've made a
Yeah.
lot of mistakes. I've worked on improving that, right? It's the mistakes I made with the oldest two. My youngest two will never know who I was at that point. Unfortunately, my oldest lived through that, right? Um, but they get to see the change in real time. But like parenting is, oh, the beautiful mess that it is. And if kids
Right.
could just kind of, as they get older, they'll give you that grace of, yeah, I guess it's your first time living. Like
Yeah.
nobody wrote down the exact guidebook to what my life would be like with the six kids I have and everything they're going to choose to do. What's the fun if all the surprises are ruined? Um, Chris, take us, or Seth, I'm sorry. Tell me about what the alignment actually feels like now compared to the survival mode that you moved from.
Oh, it's peace. It's just absolute peace.
Yeah.
Um, I was back home, so my son lives with his mother in North Carolina. I'm down in Texas. But I was back home a couple weeks ago spending time with them, and I was seeing my one of my other mamas that I grew up with. And I was sitting on their porch talking to them. And this kind of goes back to something you said earlier, looking back on our life or accepting responsibility. It's like everything that I've created or done in my life, the good, the bad, the indifferent, like I'm so extremely grateful for it. And like on paper, people people might hear that and say you're crazy. Like I lost a beautiful woman because of my addiction or because the choices I made, choosing my addiction. I'm not a part of that family as much as I could be now. You know, it could look really bad, but I have the understanding that all of that had to happen to set me up where I am today. And I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah.
I mean, gratitude, any personal growth thing will tell you to journal three things daily, but it's like gratitude is really a superpower. And I love the power that it has on the brain. And I love the fact that more studies are going to it and that at least I see it highlighted more. But
Yeah.
just being grateful for the days that I have, understanding the choices that I make, and that I'm the one that's actually in control of my life.
Yeah.
So if I'm having a bad day, I'm the one that's the cause of it.
Yeah.
If I'm having a great day, I'm playing a part in it. There's usually a little couple other factors that I'm not in control over, but it's a beautiful day, and
Yeah. No, I
it's
love that. And I mean, gratitude, you're spot on. It is a superpower. And I think what I love about this show, and you're speaking to exactly why I started it, is because you people go through the mess and they kind of stay stuck, right? They stay stuck in that victimhood, or people go through the mess and it kind of launches them and they can come back full circle. Like I wouldn't change anything in my life.
Mhm.
And that's a lot of pain that I accept, that I'm like, I would do that again. It didn't kill me,
Right.
right? It hurt a lot. It still hurts a lot, but I wouldn't be who I was if I didn't have that mess. And so many people are walking around right now like holding their mess like it's serving them, and it's not. As long as they're keeping their story to themselves, like I think it's a beautiful gift that you're coming on here and you're sharing this. That's an incredibly vulnerable experience you go through to share that personal, like your
Hmm.
mistakes, like to be able to be honest about addiction and what the price was for you. and then to come back, go through all of that, turn around and to be able to help other people. I think it's amazing. What would you say to my listener right now, to the man who is just secretly feeling lost? What would you tell him to do?
Again, what do you want? I mean, you're more than capable of it. It the unfamiliar is difficult. Or I don't like the word difficult. The unfamiliar is the unfamiliar.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to know what to do. I see people and I talk to people all the time that want peace, but they can't live in peace because once again, their body's not regulated to it. It's regulated to the chaos. So you're going to have to transition and change to be able to get to that spot. If you want it, it's possible. I promise you that. And it's so much easier than the way that we overthink it and make it out to be.
Yep.
If you can overthink it negative, you can overthink it positive too. So look at the life that you want and then work backwards from what you want and create the steps to get there.
I think that's perfect. And I mean, you're spot on. It's what do you want? I think that's an incredible message for the show. What do you want? Um, because what you're not changing, you're choosing.
Yes, that's so good.
So if you're waking up every day and you're doing the same thing, what do you think's going to happen? The same thing.
Mhm.
You'll be in the same spot a year from now, very predictable, but also think about how miserable you are right now.
Right.
So I love that. For my last question, fun question, what is something about you right now that the younger Marine version of Seth would absolutely not believe that you do?
Oh, I paint.
Paint.
Yeah, I enjoy painting.
That's
So
awesome.
I
That is awesome.
never started about a year and a half ago, and it slows me down. I love it.
Where do you want my audience to get resourced with you? How can they follow you?
So they can find me at Armor to Alignment on Instagram, armor2alignment.com. Go through there or just shoot me an email at armor2alignment@gmail. Any of those ways are fine.
Perfect. Seth, this is the part of the show where I get to tell you what I think makes you special. And it's not the struggle. Everybody, it's not that he struggled. You don't get a gold star for suffering in this lifetime. Everybody's struggling. That's the arena. It's that, Seth, you were willing to face yourself honestly. You stopped hiding behind the performance, behind your armor, behind all of the conditioning, and instead of staying trapped in the shame spiral, you embrace that neuroplasticity and you rebuilt your brain and your life. And now the fact that you're helping other people realize they're not doomed to stay who they've been conditioned to become, I think that is powerful. I think that makes you incredibly special. And to everyone listening, you are not your worst moment. And this is me shaking you. If you're watching this, yes, I'm shaking you. You are not your worst moment. You're not your diagnosis. You're not your
Yeah.
addiction. You're not your collapse. You're not your shame. But healing requires radical honesty. And eventually you're going to have to decide whether you're protecting yourself or hiding from yourself. God did not create you to spend your life emotionally armored and disconnected. That is not a part of the human experience. He wants you engaged. He created you to live free. So you have to be honest and you have to be disciplined and you have to do the unsexy thing of finding the boring and the mundane, the process, and falling in love with that. Please, you guys, remember that your mess is your message. Even the addiction, even the breakdown, even the identity collapse, that is where your rebuilding begins. If this episode spoke to you, please share it out. There is someone that Seth needs to reach that we can't get to without your help. So please share it. It's a very selfless act. Make sure you guys leave a review. Stars are cute, but if you type the words, that's how we get Seth up in the algorithm, okay? And again, if you're ready for the hot seat, I dare you to come tell me why you're special. Seth, thank you so much for this. I love your time. Your story's amazing, and I just think you're doing incredible work.
No, thank you, Brandon. I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Thank you.